Star Wars Zero Company, the tactics game from Bit Reactor, some of the former Firaxis folks, has been one of my most anticipated games since it was first announced. It is really kind of the perfect thing for me. I have, at different points in my life, been a big Star Wars nut. I just like the franchise and have. It's very important to me personally and always has been. And I love tactics games. I'm a big XCOM guy. I really got into Fire Emblem Three Houses when that came out. I just put out a video earlier this week on Marvel's Midnight Suns, which I think is an excellent game. I really dig the kind of games that Firaxis and, by comparison, Bit Reactor make. And the idea of putting one of those in the Star Wars universe has just been very enticing to me. Well, I've been playing the game for a little bit, and I am what I would say is easily halfway based on the estimations of how long the game should take. And I agree with a lot of what some people are saying, which is I think the game is quite good, and I think it's fun. But it hasn't landed for me the same way that I think it has for others, in which I say, by which I mean I'm not as enthusiastic about it as I think some folks are. And I think a lot of that, just to be honest with you, is because I built it up over a long period of time, which I think is totally fair. But the thing that I can't stop thinking about when I'm playing and enjoying the tactics and the moment tactics combat, it's just that I wish it was deeper. And so that's kind of what I'm going to be talking about here for a few minutes now, is just that I want to make it clear that I do like this game, and I am enjoying it, and I'm having a lot of fun, and I'm going to finish it. And maybe by the time I finish it, I will feel differently. But I just keep having this nagging feeling that it feels like there were more systems at some point, and that somebody was like, you need to tone this down a little bit. This needs to be a little simpler for folks. We don't want to overwhelm people too much. And I think the result is a game that feels like it is the least customizable and has kind of the least amount of growth over the course of the campaign. Now, that sounds wrong, probably, because it is actually pretty customizable. What I mean is something a little bit different, which is that I don't feel the sense of progression in this the same way I do with XCOM. And to be fair, it is different progression, and I think it's largely personal taste here. I love the feeling in XCOM of going from ballistic weapons to laser weapons to plasma weapons and feeling that really notable hit. I love the feeling of developing better and better armor and deciding which soldier I'm going to put it on. I like the idea of growing my classes into different directions, and the fact that all of my, soldiers or all of my medics or my, all my heavies are using different builds. I might have some skills that I really gravitate towards, but realistically, I'm doing something a little different. It makes every one of my main units feel different to me, and it feels special. And when I have one character over another, I create those memories with them. Star Wars Zero Company is a little bit different because you have those bespoke operators and the kind of create your own operators. I think this system is a little weird. I understand the way that it works and why it is there. It is there because you are supposed to lose units over time and lose important story units and need to be able to replace them or do something while someone's in the medical bay or whatever. But on the normal difficulty, which I am playing on, which is a mistake, by the way, I am just not running into, as an experienced tactics player, I'm really not running into danger. Now, to be clear, to be fully clear and fair to the game does basically say, hey, if you're a tactics person, maybe normal is not for you, try going the hard mode. But I'm somebody who the first time I play a game, I want it to be like the developer's intended experience. I really wish I would have started on hard, and I basically could change to hard if I wanted to, but I don't. It will basically nullify any ability to get achievements or anything like that, and I think I would rather just stick through on normal and then do maybe another playthrough down the line on hard, which I think I would enjoy a lot more. But for right now, I feel like a lot of that stuff is kind of just lost on me, and so these other operators don't matter at all because I feel like my main characters aren't really in danger. In order for a character to die, you have to get stack 3 injuries on top of each other. And when injuries only happen when a character's health reaches 0. So not only does the character's health have to reach 0, it has to reach 0 3 times in a single mission, realistically, for them to die. Otherwise, you can just heal their injuries back in the med bay. And if you're playing on normal, you can use the Bacta tank to immediately heal all of someone's injuries at once instead of having to let them sit in the med bay for a while. So I just really have no use for the additional operators at all. And so I use them for the like passive operations that happen between missions. But I don't think I've launched a single mission that doesn't have a bespoke character with them, because you have this awesome bond system that grows between the relationships of characters and they do things together. And so I want those bonds to be on the characters that have meaningful story, because those are the characters I want to take into battle with me and also have to take on to their side missions with them. So it just doesn't fit particularly well. And so I'm somebody who doesn't usually play on hard mode because, or I do play on hard mode and stuff like XCOM and Midnight Suns, but I don't usually do Iron Man because I like having the flexibility of, okay, I'm going to restart this mission basically if it doesn't go well. And I will let a soldier die if I play by my own rules, basically. So if I get close to the end of a mission and someone dies, I might accept that loss, and that just becomes part of the story of the game for me. But I will still allow myself the, oops, I made a mistake, I didn't mean to do that, I'm going to go back. And that's kind of how I choose to play these games, and I think it's fun if people do like the Beskar mode in this game, which is super cute. But to me, like, I haven't even needed to do that. I don't think I've ever reloaded a save in this game outside of running into a bug. And it's just, I'm kicking myself for starting on normal and not starting on hard, but I'm just never somebody to start a game on hard. I'd rather learn on normal, and I think for this particular thing, because the way that the game is built and the way it's designed, it kind of does the game a massive disservice. So that's like, if you get anything out of this video, it's that if you've ever played XCOM or anything like that, play on hard. Don't do what I did. Don't make my mistake. If you're like weirdly OCD, literally, which I literally have OCD about playing on, like, I want the normal experience the first time. Ignore that. Ignore that feeling in your brain as best you can and push through and play on hard, because you'll have a better experience. I'm certain of it. Because it just kind of like, truth be told, I really do like the moment-to-moment tactics of this game. The backup system where like one player on your squad is randomly chosen to be able to like call on backup of another character, and you can move them together and they'll basically assist in an attack, can really help. It's really cool, and it grows the bond between characters. I think the like mix between an action point heavy system like an XCOM versus like the advantage extra bonus currency, kind of like heroism in Midnight Suns, adding those together is great because it allows you to do a lot with a character, and then if you have a bunch of advantage, you can do even more with them, but then the next turn you might not be able to be as flexible and be able to do many things. It is smart. There is a lot of really great stuff, and there's a lot of good pedigree there. My issues just come in like in the between the tactics moments, because I just feel like I'm not, I'm able to add additional mods and things like that to my blaster, which is cool, and I'm able to grow like the rarity of those items to add some additional damage or do some research to make sure they do new damage, but I'm not getting like new and better blasters and then kind of like deciding who to put those on. And I'm not like increasing my, like, I'm not replacing my armor or anything like that by doing, various side missions or getting these great resources from. It's not nearly as complex as something like XCOM, which is disappointing to me, or something like Fire Emblem, which is also disappointing. But it also is missing the Midnight Suns also doesn't have that kind of stuff, but it has different kind of complexity, because the complexity in Midnight Suns allows you to look at it and go, okay, well, instead of doing, I need to build an entire deck, I need to upgrade these cards, I need to use these resources. And that's a very different experience, but one that I think makes the game still feel like every time I go back to the Abbey, I'm trying to make meaningful progress to make this hero more powerful, even if I'm not going to use them in the next mission. And that, to me, is like that's the sauce for tactics games, is that mixture and marriage between what you're doing back at your base to make your next mission more successful and the missions themselves. I think top marks for Zero Company on the missions themselves. They're really cool when they run well on PC, and like they do a really great job of making, like, translating iconic, like Storm, like Republic Soldier, Clone Troopers. to this, and making like gunslingers and Beskar wielding Mandalorian mercenaries in here, and like, this isn't a spoiler because they show it in the trailer excessively, but like the mission when you encounter like Anakin Skywalker and you lets you see him on the battlefield, like he can do a lot more than the one Padawan Jedi that you have, and it feels really cool and successful. And they do a great job of translating the universe into the game, and I just have no real complaints about the moment-to-moment gameplay. It is all about just the complexity or lack thereof for me when you're back at the base. And so like I still think you can enjoy the game and really like it if you are like me and that kind of stuff is really important to you. But don't let yourself get super hyped up from seeing all the things people are talking about how great and amazing the game is, if that is something that's really, really important to you, because I just don't really think that complexity is there. I had moments and moments and moments over the course of the campaign where I thought the game kind of holds your hand quite a bit at the beginning, which is good. You need to do that in a game, especially one that has permadeath in it. And over time, over the hours, I was like, okay, maybe the next time I come back, maybe the next time I do this major story mission, I'll come back and I'll unlock some new system that will really start to crack this thing open and really add a lot to it and make sure that I can upgrade the den in a way that really starts doing some cool stuff. And then I looked at the upgrade tree and I was like, there's not a whole lot of stuff here that's particularly interesting, but maybe it'll expand over time. And it just never really did. And there is one moment where, and they've talked about this publicly as well, so this isn't really a spoiler, where instead of having one specialization per every character, you're able to add a second specialization, which is really cool, and it does make every character unique. And so like my Jay and your Jay and my Hawks and your Hawks are going to be very, very different. And even characters that have like one subclass that is locked to them, like your Mandalorian friend, the other subclass that you put on her is completely unique. And so mine is a gunslinger, so she's really good at using her pistol, and it makes her super powerful. She's like my most useful character right now, and it's really cool. And yours might be totally different. You might have that baseline thing, that baseline skills, and then you decide to go a different way with her, and that's really, really cool. And I have completely changed my Hawks playstyle from gunslinger to sniper since getting that combination ability, and I really do enjoy that, and it feels really cool. But the way that you level up in the game is that you're basically just giving yourself very little incremental boosts to your skills over time, and you have access to everything else basically from the beginning that you set it. So even after I had that one big moment where everything was like, oh, this now gets a lot more complex, I can add a second class to everybody, but I haven't had any additional really growth since. It's just very incremental, like, oh, now this ability does a little bit more damage, or maybe it costs one advantage less or something like that, or it's a bigger area of effect. And that's kind of it. Everything else is like my characters have been set since unlocking their second specialization. And to me, that is just a loss of the thing that I care the most about. The thing that I want to see is the growth of my soldiers over time. The growth, when I look at my XCOM heroes and their posters are all over the mobile base and everything, and I take down one of the Chosen or in the expansion or the final boss, I want to be able to look at the heroes that have been with me the whole time, and I want to think about how they've grown, all the weapons they've wielded, all the armor they've had, the story that they tell. It's the thing Fire Emblem does really, 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 really well, is telling that story of how a character has grown and changed over the course of the game. And that is so cool and successful and important in a game like this. And it's something that I think Midnight Suns doesn't do as well as XCOM. But they all grow in different ways because you gain different and newer abilities as you get more powerful cards. And so you still have some of that progression feeling. And you have the upgrades in the yard that make it to where you think, wow, I used to not be able to even knock anybody around in this arena by moving into them. And now I can move people and knock them into somebody else, and then that makes them draw a card. And you see the difference and change in your gameplay. I don't personally feel like in 20 hours of Zero Company, my gameplay has really changed in a super notable way. And that is the thing that I think is hardest for me to reckon with this game. Which, again, I want to be clear, I like the game. It's cool. I've really been looking forward to it. And it, as a Star Wars Tactics thing, it lives up in that moment-to-moment gameplay. It is fun to like navigate around when a Droideka shows up, and you have to be like, shit, I gotta deal with this thing's shield now. I'm gonna change how I fight. I'm gonna make sure I overwatch it more often, so that because it doesn't have a shield when it's rolling. Like, that's all really, really cool. And the way that they bring some of the ideas from those other tactics games into this is really effective. Like some of the, you know, increased danger effects that happen on enemies as you go through the mission, and they gain more pain in the ass problems, and you have to either do missions to get rid of those pain in the ass issues or just deal with them. And like, that's all really great, and they do really, really good with a lot of that stuff. You can see and feel that DNA still in there. I wish I had more. I wish Zero Company had more of a story to the growth of my characters, because the story itself is cool. It's interesting. It's great Star Wars, actually. It's like it's very personal and very like low on the Force stuff, which is great. I love to see that. Like, I love to see stuff embracing more of the Andor philosophy of like, the less magic that we talk about in this universe, the more special it feels. And that's how it feels here. You only have one Force user on the entire team, and like, she knows very little about the Force. So it works out great. It feels like they did a really excellent job crafting this game, and I fully see why everyone loves it and is super happy with it. I just wish that I felt a little bit more of that progress as I go along. And you know, maybe they'll reveal something in the 11th hour here that'll really change things up, and you'll see a video on this channel that says I was wrong about Star Wars Zero Company in a week. But I've been waiting for that shoe to drop for a minute, and the only shoe that's dropped was pretty cool, but came and went relatively quickly. So I don't know. I would still recommend you pick it up if you are a Star Wars fan or a Tactics fan, and if you're both, it's a no-brainer of a game. If you, like me, have just been waiting and pumped, you should be aware that there may not be as much of some of that really juicy tactics stuff as maybe you were hoping. At least for me. Anyway, let me know if you got the game, if you're enjoying it. Tell me in the comments. I'd love to talk about it more. Everyone seems to think it's just perfect and amazing, which I think is great. I love when people love games, and there are plenty of games that people love that I'm not super into, and vice versa. So I think that's great. If you have no problems, awesome. I want to hear about it. So, yeah, I would really love a like and a subscription if you can spare one. I'm like 150 subscribers away from 1,000 subs, which will be huge for me and allow me to make some money off the channel, which will be really nice going forward in the future. So, I would really appreciate it if you would just drop a like and a subscription. It helps people, it helps out the video, helps out the channel a ton. But even if you can't, or you don't want to, I appreciate you anyway, and I hope that I will see you